Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have no offers accepted if you're not viewing. So be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. You've not been watching my videos. I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys. The government can't even fix potholes. I can't remember the last thing the government fixed, but there are few things more complicated than the home buying and selling process in England and Wales. And for the government to think that even in consultation with the industry, its involvement and intervention is going to make things better, not worse, represents one of the most egregious cases of overreach I can remember. I've been involved in the property market one way or another for over 30 years, and I have lost count of how many times governments have made this claim, usually in a desperate bid for popularity, or always at an election. Every single election, without fail, they stand up and say, we're going to fix the housing market. We're going to fix the housing market. We're going to fix the housing market. And here we are, 30 years since I got involved with it, with everything possible to do with the housing market, worse, slower, and more expensive, all told. If the government actually wanted to fix the housing market, there is one incredibly simple thing that it could do literally overnight that would make a bigger difference and lead to bigger improvements in transaction volumes and deal times than anything else they're talking about in this nonsense. And that is, tell HMRC to publish all transaction prices at the same time that they publish transaction volumes. We would overnight have actual house price transparency. Overnight, right? Remember, HMRC has the exact transaction price for every single transaction no longer than 2 weeks ago, and they've always had it. They choose not to publish this information. They choose to only publish transaction volumes. And they cite privacy as a reason that they can't publish the prices, which is nonsense because the land registry goes on to publish the prices in due course anyway. So there's this completely unnecessary and avoidable time lag in actual price reporting that contributes to or creates the conditions for the industry to indulge in the practice of overvaluing. And whilst the list of problems with moving home is long, the overvaluing problem is bigger than all of the rest put together. And nothing in this proposal, it's not even mentioned, right? The lack of price transparency is the giant problem compared to all of the other minor problems. And that is the one thing that the government has the power to fix easily, without legislation, without consultation, but it won't. So as someone who has been attempting to improve the housing market for 25 years. And as someone who arguably has more experience in a broader range of areas that affect housing than any other single individual in this industry, I'm telling you that even if they do get round to actually implementing any of this, which I doubt, it will not make any difference, because it's one thing to have an idea. Anyone can have an idea. It's quite another to implement it. And they tried before. The last Labour government tried, and it backfired so badly, they had to just abandon it. The whole thing was a waste of time because they don't understand how the industry operates. Now, why is the housing industry broken? Why is the moving industry broken? Well, and this is controversial, it's actually not. The process, if allowed to happen, isn't broken. And I, more than anyone else out there, can prove it to you. Because as anyone was watching my channel for a long time knows, I've been working with these guys, Carrington's Independent Estate Agents in Kingston, as the first of many agents I'm hoping to work with, to prove that if you create the right incentives for buyers and sellers and conveyancers, then transactions go through like a knife, hot knife through butter. Every time. It's only one agent, but the point is proved. We haven't had to change any laws. We haven't had to bribe anybody with anything. We've simply created the correct incentives for sellers and for buyers and conveyancers. And the results are unprecedented and unparalleled. They began this process in February. We're now in October. So far, they have had 0 fall-throughs and already halved the number of transactions. And we didn't need the government's help to do it. So I won't go on about that anymore, right? Other than to prove that the improvements needed in the house moving process have nothing to do with government, nothing to do with regulation, nothing to do with qualification, nothing to do with... The only thing where there's genuinely overlap is where the government is saying that it might start to insist on upfront information happening. Well, I can prove to you that if you create the right incentives, that will happen without government intervention. Okay, I've already created it. And one of the ways in which Carrington's is selling everything so fast, I mean, everything they're selling, every house, they've had a couple of delays with leasehold flats, but every house they've sold has gone under offer in an average of 25 days. All of them, 100% of them, no exceptions. None of them so far have fallen through. Why? Because the correct incentives were created. Now, the first thing I want to say about this absolute shameless shit show of PR and desperate vote winning by a panicking government is that I don't know how to describe this. They talk as if, oh, it's going to be easy. We're just going to do ABC and it'll be fixed. And even Keir Starmer has put a thing up today saying, I promised that my government would fix the broken housing system. Buying or selling a home will be faster. He's saying this before anything's been achieved. Unlocking the dream of home ownership. The dream of home ownership is not locked up by transaction times. It's locked up by price transparency not existing and allowing hardworking people to focus on the next chapter of their lives. That's national renewal. He's pinning his nonsense national renewal narrative onto these housing market changes. And it's just embarrassing to see Steve Reed's post on this today, where he uses this meme: buying a home today, buying a home after our plans, quicker, costs less, less stress. Well, all of these things I have proved with the agents I'm working with are possible today, right? Now, this is this is boring. And I apologize to everyone for just how boring this is, but it is important, because if housing transactions can be unlocked, unblocked is a better way, not unlocked. They're not locked up. they are blocked up. And they're blocked up by the wrong incentives. And if those can be unblocked, and that is exactly what I'm working on doing with Best Agent, right? To completely go around the bad actors in the marketplace creating the wrong incentives and causing this problem, then transaction volumes will unblock. It will be faster to move home. It will cost less. There will be fewer fall throughs. There'll be fewer wasted transactions and wasted money on failed transactions. That's going to happen. It's going to happen with or without the government. But so far, every single time the government has intervened in the housing market, it's made everything worse. So please, Steve Reed, Keir Starmer, leave the housing market alone. Now, I have a lot of industry colleagues who are involved in this and are actually named in this document. I personally know lots of the people who are quoted, right, in this document. So no, I don't know the Rightmove CEO, Johan Svanström, yet, although I'm happy to meet him. I know Richard Donnell at Zoopla, but not his boss, Paul Whitehead. I don't know the guy at Santander or Nationwide. I do know Paula Higgins. I've met Paula Higgins. Wonderful organization that she runs, trying to improve things for homeowners and movers in particular. However, not that much experience of the actual front line of a state agency, and unfortunately, a lot of the things that she campaigns for won't work. Kate Faulkner, OBE, an extraordinary lady and someone I'm very privileged and honored to know, who is campaigning tirelessly for improvements in the housing market. And she's been part of she's the chair of the Home Buying and Selling Council, which has been in these conversations with the government for, I think I'm not exaggerating to say decades. I don't know the guy at Ricks. I do know Nathan Emerson. I spent time with Nathan Emerson, CEO at Property Mark. And those guys already work directly with government. And some of the things he says are good. The green stuff and the red stuff is not so good. Don't know Mark Evans, don't know Beth Rudolph. So the other problem here, and I say this with respect and what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of people have worked extremely hard to try and bring about these changes. And they're good people trying really hard to benefit all of us. However, for different reasons in each case, what they're trying to do is misguided. Okay? And I will explain that. Yes, upfront information when selling a property will improve the actual logistical process of selling a house more than anything else will. I agree with that. It's always been the case. It's why people try to do it. And it's the first thing the government are saying that they're going to be doing with these changes. And if that's all they do, that could be good, right? But the biggest actual pain points and problems in the home moving industry are not touched by anything that's suggested in here. When the whole country knows that regulations are shown and proved time and again to increase costs, and what do increase costs? Where do those costs end up? Always on the consumer. Increased regulation equals more costs for the consumer every time. No exceptions. And yet people still think, oh, this is good. The government's going to do this and it's not going to cost us more money. Yes, it will. That's the first thing. Second thing, mandatory qualifications. Well, there are mandatory qualifications required in lots of industries where you still have a crap experience as a customer. Let's start with conveyancing, shall we? You've got to be a licensed conveyancer at least, or a solicitor. How's that working out? Is there anything in those qualifications or training or regulations that mandates how soon a conveyancer must respond to an email from a client? No. And there's nothing in this that's going to do that either. And this is one of the areas where there's a major problem. Do you think that if they start to regulate estate agents and make them have qualifications, it's going to suddenly make them honest? No, it's not. And most frustratingly of all, there are existing regulations which, if they could only enforce them, would solve many of these problems. Let's start with overvaluing. The government already, and correctly, right, has already made it a legal requirement that every estate agent must be a member of one of the two estate agency ombudsman redress schemes. One is called the Property Ombudsman, one is called the PRS, the Property Redress Scheme, and all agents are paid up, signed up to one of those two things. Both of those two organizations have a code of conduct or a code of practice that expressly forbids overvaluing and sets out rules about what agents must do to prove that they didn't knowingly overvalue. I know of one case where a seller took an agent to task over that code, and the seller's complaint was upheld and the agent was penalized and punished. So the rules that solve the biggest problems already exist, everybody. They already exist, but there is literally zero enforcement. And so if the government actually wants to help, rather than posturing to make itself look and sound better, then please go and enforce the existing regulations. I'm wasting my breath. They won't do it, right? This is pure party propaganda. And it's only going to make things worse if they go through with it, which I hope they don't. You can't they talk about making people collaborate and work together. You can't legislate for that, right? Any more than you can mandate house building targets. Yet more utter dishonesty and disingenuous lies. The government comes up mandatory housing targets. How's that going, by the way, on the mandatory house building targets? Huh? It's not possible to legally mandate housing targets, and yet we lap it up every time. So I want the government, including my friends and industry colleagues who are on this group that's been advising the government, to actually turn their attention to what they know the real problems are, which are misaligned commercial incentives behind the schemes. For example, the referral commissions between large conveyancing firms and large estate agents that serve to derail and block transactions. And there have been plenty of people in the industry saying that that's one of the biggest problems. And it is. Is that mentioned in here? Of course it's not. So this is a colossal waste of time. And again, to my friends on these panels and groups that have been working on this, please don't take what I'm saying here as a criticism. I'm simply saying that these haven't been thought through. These are ideological moves that in theory sound like they'll make a difference, but for human, commercial, financial, and technical reasons, they cannot work, with the exception of the upfront property information pack, right? And the rest of the things that you're proposing don't solve what are actually the root causes of the problems. If you want to solve the problems in the housing market, number one, price transparency. Number one, price transparency. That is 80% of the problem. Number two, the industry itself needs to solve the obscene referral schemes that are happening behind the scenes, that are derailing transactions. Now, why wouldn't they do this? Why? I'll give an example. Foxtons and Dexters, both companies with whom I have a long history and long involvement in different ways, going back a long time, are both involved with, in my opinion, nefarious relationships with conveyancing firms and panels and mortgage lenders. And because their profits rely so heavily on these referral commissions, which they get whether they sell houses or not. Those companies are focusing on generating referral commissions more than they're focusing on getting houses sold. And nothing in this document addresses that issue, right? London's two biggest estate agents by market share, right? Between them, Foxtons and Dexters have a huge chunk of London's properties for sale. And yet both of them sell fewer of the properties that they list than anyone else does. Hey, government, you want to do something? Outlaw long sole agency contracts. Protect the consumer from sole agency contracts that are counter to their interests and actually harm them. That's what you could do. Nothing about that in here. There's nothing about overvaluing. There's nothing about unfair referral schemes. And there's nothing about long sole agency contracts that clog up the market. Going back to these guys, right now, Carrington's is selling every single house they list, right? In the last 7 days, in a market that everyone else says is stagnant because of the budget. Carrington's has booked 40 viewings in a week out of one office, right? I am not making this up. I am not making this up. I just want to show it on screen so people know that I'm not making this up. Sorry, this is taking too long, but I still want to do it. Right, this is a WhatsApp today. Okay, this is a, hang on, where's it going to focus? Focus. So in a market, and yet the point I was trying to make here about how Foxtons and Dexters and other companies like them lock the market up, causing transactions to be so long and so slow. Whilst Carrington's is selling every single house it lists on the market in under 28 days to get under offer, and I think it's averaging 68 days to exchange, which is way faster than the government says this is. The government says this is going to take it from 20 weeks down to 16 weeks. Well, Carrington's is selling everything in 8 weeks, which is the target that I've always had. Okay, 8 weeks. But in their patch, other agents, mostly Foxtons and Dexters, have 100 other houses on the market sitting there not selling. And that is clogging up just that market, right? All of those companies have got houses sitting there with houses that aren't selling. This is the real problem in the housing market. And on a national basis, companies like Connells are the perpetrators of the same thing as Foxtons and Dexters. They rely so heavily on referral commissions that they don't care about selling houses, and they won't do the work that it takes. And nothing in here solves that problem. And again, licensing and qualifications do not combat incompetence, as we can see from the government, right? You know, how's the government doing with its own competence? And I'm not just picking on Labour here, all of them for the last 20 years. Dysfunctional bunch of absolute circus clowns, unable to achieve anything of value. All they all do is keep on putting taxes up. All of them. Tories as well. Fiscal drag, income tax thresholds being held back by Tories. Okay, all they've done is put taxes up whilst public services get worse. So who, in their right mind, thinks that the government is going to help with the problem that's complicated? It's utterly, utterly infuriating. I'm now going to just go through this. Just have a quick look in the... Let me just run through some of the crap in this press release. And it's a press release. Like, why is the government putting out press releases like it's a company selling stuff? It should just make announcements. First-time buyers set to save money. They're set. You're all set to save money, guys. When buying home and time is reduced with new consultation, that's a joke in itself. Hundreds of thousands of first-time buyers are set to... No, this is utter nonsense. The Advertising Standards Agency wouldn't allow you to say this if you were a company. It's a baseless claim. Along with vital time and energy, thanks to the biggest shake-up the home buying system's in the... No, it really isn't. It is not the biggest shake-up. It's not a shake-up at all. Proposals unveiled by the government today will speed up the long drawn-out costly process of buying home by 4 weeks. Right? Okay. Even if you were to achieve this, 4 weeks honestly isn't going to put a scratch or a dent in the problem. It really isn't. It will see sellers and estate agents required under the plans to provide buyers with vital information about property up front. That's good. That's obviously good. And if they are required to do it, that's the one part of this that I would welcome, as long as they do it properly and don't find a way to cock even that up. You see, things like the condition of the home, that is a subjective thing. It's quite hard. And this is where it very easily goes wrong. Don't include subjective things. Buyers will see the condition of the home for themselves when they go and view it. Leasehold costs, yes. Change of people waiting to move. That's a moving feast. This is spouted marketing rubbish by a PR person that doesn't understand what they're writing about. This will help end nasty surprises which result in last-minute collapses and give greater confidence to first-time buyers, making one of life's most important decisions. Right. Binding contracts could also be introduced to stop people walking away from agreements. Okay. Now, binding contracts are already available to anyone who wants them. Okay, they are widely available to anyone who wants them. Most agents, if not all agents, know how to arrange a binding contract between a buyer and a seller when the offer is accepted, if they want to. But in the real world, there are real problems with this, which I won't go into now. Steve Reed said, our reforms will fix the broken system. No, they won't. Even if you implement everything on here, it will not fix the problem of lack of transparency on house prices or the referral scams happening, right? And this through our plan for change, we're putting more money back into working people's pockets. Shut up. Thanks to new reforms proposed today, families could see clear side-by-side information on estate agents and conveyancers. Right. This is something else that people keep on thinking is going to help and never does, right? Google reviews, agent comparison sites, that kind of stuff. It doesn't work for the simple reason that the quality of service and results from an estate agency depend on the staff they have there. And the staff change all the time. And when a good branch manager leaves and a bad one takes their place, this information becomes out of date very, very fast. Okay? And there is already a company that does some estate agency comparison data, and it doesn't help. It hasn't moved the needle in helping people choose a better agent because it makes comparisons on metrics that unwitting sellers think sound good, but actually aren't the most important things. New mandatory qualifications and code of practice to drive up standards to rebuild trust. So this is going to add cost. It's going to make salaries more expensive, training costs, and all of these costs are going to be added to what the consumer must pay. There is already a code of practice, which is pointless because nobody enforces it, to drive up standards. That is not how standards improve. Standards improve through competition, not through being driven up by the government. And rebuild trust. There was never any trust in this industry, quite rightly. This is just such PR codswallop. The government estimates reforms could accelerate transactions by about 4 weeks. Whoopie-doo. They're currently averaging 20 weeks. For most people, actually, it's longer than that. And then for some, it's shorter than that. But 4 weeks is a pitiful target. This follows the Housing Secretary's latest pledge to build, baby, build. I mean, what a clown show this has been. And they're still saying they're going to build 1.5 million homes when everybody knows it's not going to happen and it's not possible. And yet they are still gaslighting us with this utter bullshit. And break down the remaining barriers to development that stand in the way of it. No, the remaining barriers to development are not only planning, it's that it's no longer viable. It's no longer financially viable. Green shoots of recovery. Come on, please stop it. Right, Rightmove's CEO gives an absolute nothing burger of a comment. Just nothing burger of a comment. And I just meh, whatever. Same with Zoopla. The home buying process in the UK remains far too long, too complex to answer. Yes. Consumers are clear in their desire for greater transparency. Yes, that part I do agree with. Greater transparency, yes, please. But nothing in this proposal includes greater transparency, other than a bit more information on property up front that you're going to get later anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Santander. At a time when technology has changed many processes in our lives, it is incredible that the process of buying a home, and it's like this sentence alone reveals how much this person doesn't understand what estate agents do. Because if it was something that could have been replaced by technology, it would already have been replaced by technology. Okay? But actually, the home moving process is about expectation management of emotional people going through a stressful process. Let me say that again. Expectation management at a personal level for emotional people, death, divorce, going through a very stressful process. You need humans. And the more I'm working with Carringtons and other agents I'm going to be working with and seeing at the frontline coalface, like the more I'm aware that whilst AI may help improve stuff happening in the background and back office stuff, it will not alter the value add part of what good estate agents do and bad ones don't, which is manage expectations. And when you do it right, like Carringtons are doing by following the best agent process, everyone's expectations are set correctly, and therefore everything goes through faster. Because the agents are talking to buyers for longer, talking to sellers for longer, and setting expectations on how the process works, and it's going like clockwork every time. Right? And this highlights another problem, which is that lots of these big cheeses, these grand fromage in the industry, don't actually understand it themselves. This consultation reinforces our view that as an industry, we have the opportunity to fix the system, and now is the time to seize it. Oh, you mean you could have done it sooner and you didn't? Oh, but now it's easy, and now you're just going to fix it. Okay, great. We're ready to work together with government and all those involved in the home buying process to move this discussion into action and create a system fit for today's buying. I mean, yet more PR drivel that actually doesn't mean anything. Nationwide, blah, blah, it's all difficult, we're going to fix it, blah, blah, blah. Paula Higgins, someone I've met, I know, and who I am a big supporter of, although I disagree with some of the things that she's calling for. They have long campaigned for improvement, but what they're striving for, and again, because Paula doesn't have a background in the agency herself and is unaware of what happens at the coalface, what they're striving for isn't going to solve the problem. Upfront information accepted. That is a good thing, right? We also welcome this commitment to raise standards through better regulation. No, please don't get more regulation, Paula. That's not going to help. Enforce existing regulation. Qualifications for estate agents will not change it. They won't solve the problem. These reforms will help rebuild trust in the industry. No, there never was any trust to rebuild. And Kate Faulkner. Buying and selling a home has never been more complex for buyers, sellers, and the industry. Correct, Kate. 100% in agreement with you on that. By working together, I mean, that is one of the most overused cliches, sadly. We can turn today's challenges into a better experience for the next million moves. In reality, nobody wants to work together. They want to get on with their own job, their own company, and like estate agents and conveyancers, when it goes well, it's not because they're working together, It's because the incentives are correct. So no amount of working together does anything except increase costs and salary bills and overheads and regulations and red tape without actually bringing improvements, right? There's never been a better moment to address these challenges. Well, there's never been a more desperate moment to address them, I agree, but I wouldn't say there's never been a better moment. There have been lots of better moments that we've missed. Welcoming government commitment. Okay. Now this is, I don't know what embedding transparency means, but I'm very, very happy to see the word transparency being used. Every bit of transparency we can bring will be good. Okay. But I don't know what I mean by embedding transparency. Nathan Emerson at Property Mark, same thing. With a clear focus on digitization, transparency, and stronger consumer protection. Yes, all good. Underpinned by mandatory qualifications for property agents. Okay, Nathan, we know you're running the organization that will probably be providing the qualifications for those. And you do run a very good training outfit at the moment, right? But that's jobs for the boys, and it's not going to make a difference. The training that's needed is not what I think these guys are suggesting is going to be needed. You see, the thing that people laugh at when I say this, but it's true, is that being a good estate agent is a fiendishly difficult task because it's so varied, and you are dealing with dozens of different people every day, all with their own agendas, all letting you down, all moving the goalposts, right? I am not defending the shockingly shit performance from most estate agents, right? But I am defending that they have, all of them, good or bad, have a fiendishly difficult job. And if anyone else says it's easy to sell a house, you don't need an estate agent, I would just say to you, well, why are there estate agents then? No one is forced to use them. It's such a stupid thing to say. Certain people with certain experience can sell a house privately, yes. Otherwise, nonsense. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. And then I'm going to put my cards on the table here, right? What I'm working to do is I'm working to help make better agents easier to discover so that the worse agents go out of business, right? We have twice as many estate agents as we need because we only sell 50% of the houses that list. And so we're doing twice as much work as we need to for each one property sale. If I can get more agents working like Carrington's, first of all, they'll make more money with happier customers. But secondly, there'll be much less wasted effort and cost and far fewer fall-throughs. Estate agency is very, very difficult. I would argue it's more difficult than conveyancing. But what Nathan does say is that it is vital that reforms are evidence-based. Yes, that is absolutely true. What that means is don't make any reforms unless you've got evidence that it's actually going to work. So a round of applause for that comment, 100%. And informed by those who understand the realities of the sector on the ground. No one has approached me about this. And I know that the guys even in government are aware of this channel and watch it. No one's approached me. Even though I have now proved that I know how to fix this problem. Anyway, which is why I'm doing it through Best Agent on my own, because I'm not going to wait for anyone else. Agents work with buyers and sellers every day, and their experience will be crucial to ensure changes are practical, proportionate, and effective. Correct. Nathan, 100%. Thank you. That's the most helpful comment in this press release so far. Okay. Right. That got quite ranty, didn't it? Got quite ranty. Good evening, Sasha. Sasha says, Charlie's spreading FUD as usual. Rachel Reeves is busy building 2 million new homes this year and putting more money in our pockets. Graham Lycett says, you seem vexed tonight, Charlie. Yes, it is vexing. It's vexing when the industry, including the people sitting around these tables with government, know what the actual real problems are and yet still put forward this stuff. It is vexing. Well, do you know what it comes down to is this, right? There are only two organizations of any kind trying to actually fix the entire housing market. Me, with Best Agent. Let's give the Best Agent logo some love. Shall we put that up there? And the government. Me versus, not me, Best Agent, the team, what I've been building for years with the team that I'm working with and the agents I'm now working with an entire technology platform that will massively improve this process from beginning to end, where it's one technology platform used by the people doing the people work every day that will massively speed up. Now, my goal is 4 weeks to under offer and then 4 weeks to exchange. That's my goal for a chain-free transaction using the Best Agent platform. We're not going to need any qualifications or any regulation or any government help to do it, just the correct incentives. Vexed is a good word for it. Patricia says this profession is full of grifters like Phil Spencer and the Nathan guy. Actually, that is I can personally attest that is an unfair accusation about the Nathan guy. He was kind enough, Nathan Emerson. Actually, I used to think he was. I was really impressed, actually, right? In the face of public criticism from me, he extended an invitation to me to come and spend a day with him at the Property Mark headquarters. And whilst I'm not saying that they are managing to move the needle in terms of improving things necessarily, I can tell you that is a guy I saw firsthand. That is a guy who genuinely wants to make a difference, but is pushing water uphill with agents, unfortunately, and the government. Clement Oraski. People judge estate agents like fast food workers, an industry that's absorbed so many fumbling drop kicks, people forget it's a job which can actually be done well, and those who do are rock stars. Oh, I couldn't have put that better myself, Clement. Thank you very much. Quite right. Scarlet Spear, hi there, says you should put yourself forward, Charlie. They know. My door's open. I've sent messages. I've knocked on doors. The trouble is that I'm not a conformist. I'm not an institutional game player. And I don't think anyone wants me in their organizations because they know I'm going to call shit out and they don't want that to happen. So we've got to fix it. The government's never going to fix the housing market. It's just never going to happen, right? I would be the government's biggest fan if they chose to make house prices transparent. Nothing would do more to fix the housing market faster than that. They won't do it. But we can fix the housing market. And the way I'm going to do it is I've started with one, right? And on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of November, I've got 3 events in Manchester, Bristol, and London with hand-picked owners of independent estate agents to show them exactly how the Best Agent process, the no valuations process, leads to much faster sales at absolute best market price at higher fees, so agents get paid properly and can afford the staff to do the job properly. Everybody's happy. I'm going to show them how that works and start to roll that process out. And once we've got just a small sample showing that it works in any market and it's faster and everyone's happier, it should then just start to spread because everyone's better off. Nobody loses, except for the worst kind of agents that are lying and tricking people into referrals, that kind of stuff. Yeah, Naeed Afzal says the government's not here to help us. It's them working for the elite and earning money. Now, that's a good reminder, right? It's a good timely reminder that the number one donor to all political parties is the house building sector. Not so much in the next few years, maybe, but because they're going to be a bit strapped for cash, I think. But historically, the house building sector has been the number one, and they have much too much influence so that they can keep on building and selling houses. And this is why the whole housing shortage is a myth. It's a myth. There are 2 million empty properties out there, more than the government's entire £1.5 million target. But their donors don't want them to stop pushing out the myth that there aren't enough, and that building solves the problem. Building doesn't solve the problem if they're not affordable and if they're not in the right places where they're needed. What is needed is massive amounts of social or council homes built on brownfield sites in existing locations where there's actually a need for them. And government should use compulsory purchase to do that and go, right, in the places that we have the most acute accommodation shortage, we are going to compulsory purchase these brownfield sites and we're going to turn them into council homes. Guess what? The house building lobby that owns these brownfield sites doesn't want that to happen. And, when the government is instrumental in helping corporations get what they want at the expense of consumers, the government is working for the wrong people. This wouldn't happen if government ministers were paid enough. They didn't need to be bribed by industry. Sasha Yanchin is some random guy on YouTube, says, a quick question from my friend Rachel. What is the best way to build a house? A, build a house. B, get someone else to build a house. C, give a speech at Goldman Sachs. She thinks it's C. Yep, quite right. All right, guys. I hope that was useful for people who want to understand and care about why the housing market is in such a terrible state. They need to build social houses. They need to scrap stamp duty, which would do more than just unblock housing transactions. It would also boost the economy if they were to scrap stamp duty on only home moves. So people buying and selling, moving from one home to another home to another home, never pay stamp duty. And then they need to enforce the existing regulations. 3 very easy steps. But unfortunately, when I suggest that, it means, oh no, we don't need so many people employed to do it because it's actually doing less, not more. Scrap stamp duty, build social homes, enforce existing regulations. There you are. I just saved you all that work on new regulations that won't work. If someone from government actually wanted to talk to me or wanted me to talk to them, I would be constructive and helpful. I would not come in and be rude and like I am on these channels, right? I'm always open to talk to anyone that genuinely wants to make a difference, but not if it's just posturing. Right. I think that's enough on that topic. I've got a few questions here. Joe Ringrose Vose, I think I've corrected it, on Facebook has a question, which is a good question because I know there are lots of people in the situation. House has been on the market since February. Okay, so that's 8 months. Have dropped price by 35,000 to 725, but still limited viewings. Should we take house off the market for winter and start again next year? Getting mixed advice. Okay, Joe. I don't know where you are in the country. I don't know what your reasons for moving are. I would need to know all of those things, your motivations of moving, how essential it is, that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, that price drop, if you've been on the market for 8 months and you've had very little activity, then your price is at least 10, if not 20% too high. That is a painful piece of information to absorb, but it's true. So what you've done is you've trimmed your price by about 5%. In fact, less than 5%, I think it is. Maths is gone. which isn't enough to move the needle, but hence you're still getting limited viewings. So what to do? Should you take house off the market for winter or start again next year? Well, that depends. So first of all, not if you think that that's going to give you a better chance of selling, right? There is absolutely no logic or reason or information or data to suggest that waiting is going to improve your chances in any way. Why? Unemployment's going up. The economy is going down. We're about to get lots more tax rises. People's disposable income is going to get worse. It's going to get more and more and more of a buyer's market the longer you wait. All right. Secondly, I mean, it sounds like you've got time to kill. You don't need to hurry up and move. But to get yourself out of the limbo that you are in, and the limbo you've been in for 8 months, there is only one way. It's the way I teach these guys, right? You need to relaunch your property, maybe with some fresh photographs, maybe reconsider what the description says, at a price that communicates to people looking that you're serious about selling. You need to forget about what you're going to sell for or what you want to sell for, because your short-term objective is to obtain offers, because without offers, you remain in limbo, right? Your objective is not to get the price you want. Your objective is to find out what the market will offer you. And the way to find out the best price the market will offer you is to have multiple competing bids. And the way to do that is to price your property at a price that makes buyers go, oh, they're serious. If you haven't already got it, the conveyor instructed and got the paperwork ready, do that as well. And make sure that that is clear on in the marketing details that you've done that. And get the agent you've got to create a market. You probably need to change agent, almost certainly need to change agent. You've been on for 8 months with that very small price drop, right? Your asking price, the job of your asking price is to get people through the door. That's it. It has nothing else to do with what you get on the property. Once you've got people through the door, they will bid against each other to whatever the current market value for your property in this market is. Then you can make a decision. If the offer is good enough for you to want to move, you can accept it. And if it's not, you know the market's not good enough for you to sell, and you can just get on with your life staying where you are. All right? There are no other options. Tom Rowland says, the government press release went to Rightmove and Zoopla for quotes. That shows us a total shit show and gives them more credibility than they could ever deserve. Yep, I agree. Do we have any other questions here? Oh, Joe, you're still watching. Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you very much. Guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, actually. I'll just take Picture Tony's question. Picture Tony on YouTube says, looking at a home in Exeter, sold in 2021 at 220,000. Now on the market at 245,000. Is that a reasonable increase? The improvements are minimal on the property, much the same as it was in 2021. Right, well, Exeter was actually named in Zoopla's house price index as one of the places with the biggest price falls in the country. I think I'll just pull that up so you can see that I'm actually being serious about that. Yeah, here we are. I'll just share the screen with you so you can see it. Where does he say it? Here we are. Yeah. In contrast, house prices are falling by more than 1% across parts of the southern Links, with the largest drops in, and there you are, Exeter in the middle. So I cannot comment on the price. What I would ask you is, how long has it been on the market? Okay. Is it a flat or a house? Does it have service charges? All of these things are relevant, and I don't know. But with any property that's been on the market, let's just assume it's been on the market for a while. If it's been on the market for a while, and it's getting no viewings, no offers, it's at least 10% overpriced. Okay, and it may well be that it goes for less than that. But go and view it if you haven't already. Go and view it, and then formulate the offer you're comfortable making for it. Is what I would do. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to just pick one thing to go heavy on here. The secret to a faster home move is being really well prepared. It doesn't cost you any extra to be prepared. Do not make the mistake of thinking, well, I don't want to spend money on that in case it doesn't go through and then I've wasted that money. That is the wrong way of looking at it, right? If you are committed to moving, buying or selling, get yourself prepared. Lay the money out on the things that you need. And if you find yourself uncomfortable to do that, it means you're probably not that actually, in your heart of hearts, not that serious about moving. But if you're serious about moving, get yourself really well prepared. And sellers are the guys out there who need the most help at the moment. Step number one, go and watch my Charlie's 10 Golden Rules for Home Sellers. Just Google it. You'll find it straight away. Charlie's 10 Golden Rules for Home Sellers. Watch that video first if you're a seller. And in there, you'll see that it says, the very first thing you should do before you talk to an agent, and it's important that you do before you talk to an agent, is you choose a conveyancer, a good conveyancer. And you instruct that conveyancer to help you get your paperwork ready for a sale. If a conveyancer says, oh no, it's much too soon to do that, give us a call back when you had an offer accepted, they're an idiot. They're an idiot because they don't understand the value they can add to their clients. That actually makes their fee worth even more money, right? Good conveyancers, like the guys that I work with, understand the value of a seller being contract ready. It means you're more likely to sell more quickly and at a better price. Okay. So if you don't already know how to get a good conveyancer or how to choose one, the guys I work with are outstanding. mhwc.co.uk/conveyancing. Pop your details in there and they'll get in touch with you and give you a talk through what you need to do. Same with buyers though. 3 Ps. Be prepared, be persistent, and be patient, especially when it comes to making your offers. Make your offer, be patient. Even if they come back and go, oh no, the seller's terribly upset and offended. Just wait. If you're the only offer, you'll normally get a call back and go, is that offer still there? And if you're a seller, please don't overprice. If you're actually serious about selling. And I do genuinely feel for the sellers out there who are slowly coming to the realization that, oh, let me play you something. Let me play you something. I can't tell you who this is, but I have got his permission to play it to you. I want to know if you can, and just, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear this. Right. Okay. Can you hear this? Sorry, I've only just seen the first thing saying no sound. Okay. I have to just play it on my phone through my mic here. Listen to this. All right. It's worth it. It's interesting. It's an anecdote about a taxi driver who's a landlord with 7 properties.
Charlie, I had a very interesting taxi ride to the airport today. The taxi driver is a landlord. He's got 7 properties, and he's been squeezed, and he's taxi driving. And he's had his properties for 20 years. And he said they're worth twice as much as when he bought them. But he's now considering selling them because he's barely making any money. He's taxi driving because of it. And he is worried that he's going to lose half the value. He said, he might try and sell them, but he doesn't think he can sell them for what he wants to. But he said, if he's not careful, he might lose all that he's made in the last 20 years. Quite an interesting conversation.
It's really, really, really much more brutal out there than anyone realizes. Guys, I've got to go. Have a fantastic one. I'll see you on the next one. Lots of love and luck to everybody. Bye-bye.